Let me give you my best opinion. I get paid staggering money for my opinion, so please write it down. My opinion. Here's my opinion. Each person's philosophy is the major factor in how your life works out. Each person's philosophy is the major factor in how your life works out. I want that to be as emphatic as possible, because I truly believe it. Now, up until I was 25, that would never have occurred to me, that my personal philosophy was the major factor. If you would have known me when I was 25 years old, and you would have said, Jim Rohn, how come you find yourself here? This is pitiful. Living in America, you're broke, you got pennies in your pocket, you got nothing in the bank, creditors are calling, you're behind on your big mouth promises to your family, you've been to at least 1 year of college, how come you find yourself in this pitiful position? If you would have asked me that question when I was 25, it never would have occurred to me to blame my philosophy. That would not have occurred to me. I would not have said to you, well, I got this lousy philosophy, what else would you expect? I mean, that would not have occurred to me.
Hello, hey there, welcome in. I am Josh Ellis, the editor-in-chief of Success Magazine, and here we are. I can't believe it already. It's Friday, Casual Friday, the third and final day of this special teaching series, Free for You, a chance to soak up some of the greatest wisdom from one of the greatest teachers of all time. If you've stuck with me for this long, I have to imagine that you are just rubbing your hands together. You cannot wait to put some of these things into practice to impact your life, your business, your career, relationships, anything and everything in a positive way. Jim Rohn, who you just heard from right there at the top, was the mentor to the masters, and we call him that for a reason. His teachings are the foundation for success, as true today as they were during his lifetime. And here at Success Magazine and Success.com, we are huge believers in what spending some time with the work of Jim Rohn can do for you. Over the last couple of days, I've shared with you his beliefs about the necessity of personal development and some of the ways that it can be put into practice for you. I've told you, and Jim has told you, how goal setting is a key component to any successful life. And today we're going to tie everything that we've talked about together and go even deeper. Jim Rohn is a man who, although he's been gone for nearly a decade, made an impact that continues to reverberate around the world. And ultimately, I think that's what we all want. We want to matter. Deep down, we know how limited our time on earth is. We know that we are just one of, 7 billion people on the planet? But we want to make a dent in this place in space and time, in the hearts and the minds of people. We want to make the world better for those that will come after us. We want to create a legacy. If you study success like I do, that's what matters to you. Building yourself up, becoming something more than you were, so that you can accomplish something greater that not only will make you proud, but that will inspire and enable others to do the same. That's what it's all about. So who better to learn from than a man who did just that? Jim Rohn thought of himself as a philosopher. He once said, I love principles. Yes, actions are great, and I talk about them regularly, but the important stuff is what lies underneath the principles. Before we get started and really go deep, on the subject of creating a legacy today. Let me give you a few of those core principles Jim believed in. So here are the principles he says we must commit to in order to leave the legacy we desire. There are 9 of them coming up. We're getting right to it today. So I hope that you have your pencil and your paper ready, and you're going to take some great notes. If you don't have them ready right now, what are you doing? Go ahead and grab those, take notes with us right now. 9 principles, you're going to want to write them down. Are you ready? The first one is this: life is best lived in service to others. Doesn't mean that we don't strive for the best for ourselves. It means that in all things we serve other people, including our family, our co-workers, our friends. Life is best lived in service to others. Second principle: consider others' interest as important as your own. Consider others' interests as important as your own. Much of the world suffers simply because people consider only their own interests. People are looking out for number one. But that's not the way to leave a legacy. The way to leave a legacy is to also look out for others. Third, you might be noticing a pattern here. Love your neighbor even if you don't like him. You know, liking people has to do with emotions. Loving people has to do with actions. And what you're going to find is that when you love them and do good by them, you will more often than not begin to like them. Fourth, maintain integrity at all costs. Maintain integrity at all costs. I hope you're writing these down. There are very few things that you take with you to the grave. The number one thing is your reputation, your good name. When people remember you, you want them to think, she was the most honest person that I knew. What integrity. There are always going to be temptations to cut corners, to break your integrity. Don't do it. Do what is right all of the time, no matter what the cost. Number 5, you must risk in order to gain. In just about every area of your life, you have to take risks if you want to gain the reward. In love, you must risk rejection in order to ask that, someone out for the first time. In investing, you've got to place your money at risk in the market in order to receive the prize of a growing bank account. When we take risks, we gain. And when we gain, we have more to leave for others. 6th principle, straight from the scripture, it says, you reap what you sow. In fact, you always reap more than you sow. You plant a seed and you reap a bushel. What you give, you get. What you put into the ground then grows out of the ground. If you give love, you will receive love. If you give time, you will gain time. It is one of the truest laws of the universe. So decide what you want out of life and then begin to sow it. 7th, hard work is never a waste. No one's going to say it is too bad that he was such a good hard worker. But if you aren't, they will probably say it's too bad he was so lazy. He could have been so much more. Hard work will leave a great legacy for you. So give it your all in your time on this earth. You will do a lot of good and leave an amazing legacy. That's number 7. Hard work is never a waste. Number 8 out of 9, stay with me. Don't give up when you fail. Imagine what legacies would have never existed if someone had given up. How many thriving businesses would have just been shut down if they quit after their first failure. Everyone fails. It's a fact of life. But those who succeed are those who don't give up when they fail. They keep going and they build a successful life and a legacy. And finally, number 9, the 9th philosophy for leaving a legacy from Jim Rohn: don't ever stop in your pursuit of that legacy. Don't ever stop. Many people have accomplished incredible things later on in life. It's not too late. There is never a time to stop in your pursuit of a legacy. You know, sometimes older people will say, I'm 65, I'll never change. But no, there is always time to do more and achieve more, to help more and serve more, to teach more, to learn more. So keep going and keep growing that legacy. Those 9 principles, those are the core principles to live by if you want to become the kind of person who leaves a lasting legacy. But, of course, we are just getting started, and I will bet that you have your own principles that you want to live by. So let's consider the kind of life philosophy that will allow you to live by those principles, which in itself will give you the power to achieve and to influence others, to empower others to achieve and to influence others, and on and on and on. Here to tell us about that domino effect of legacy is Jim Rohn.
You don't. Jot those little phrases down. Should, could, don't. Here's what we call that: formula for disaster. And all you've got to do to start now the process of life change is start somewhere. And it doesn't even matter where. You can start with good health, or you can start with something else. The key is to start by saying, I'm going to start the process in each category of finding by my own research. And that's why seminars are so valuable. That's why information is so valuable. That's why somebody willing to take the time to share is so valuable, is to help boil it down in some form to the half a dozen few things that takes care of most of it. And then let me get on with practicing it. And where you start doesn't matter. The process of life change can start with as simple a process as an apple a day, which means I'm on the road to cleaning up neglect. I'm going to walk around the block. I'm going to get the next book of my new library. I'm going to get a journal. Shove taught me to keep a journal. He said, don't just let ideas get by you. Don't trust your memory. If you're serious about really becoming an entrepreneur, if you're serious about affecting other people's lives, if you're serious about fortune, if you're serious about wealth and health, if you're serious, start collecting ideas. Go over them and review them. Then make them a part of your life and practice, and don't ever look back. That formula helped change my life. Brought me to where I am today. And I'm so delighted now to have the opportunity to go around the world telling the same story that I heard when I was 25 years old. There's a few basic things, and if you practice them every day, I'm telling you, there's no reason why you can't have the health you want, the relationship you want, the fortune you want, the money you want, the income you want, the sophistication you want, the culture you want, the prestige you want, the influence you want, all of it. It's wrapped up, I think, in a nutshell of what I've just explained to you. A few things. Now, let me give you one more part of it. Here it is. Once you've found the few things that makes the most difference, now spend most of your time working on those few things. That now is another part of the clue. The first part of the clue is to get the information and consistently practice it. But here's the rest of the formula. Spend most of your time on it. The reason why a lot of people don't do that well is because they major in minor things. They spend too much time on things that don't count much. And they spend too little time on things that would count.
Thank you, Jim Rohn. So here is the big lesson about legacy. It was right there. Everything you need to know about creating and leaving your legacy, it's to lead your life for a reason. Live for something, do something, become something, make something, try. The definition of legacy, according to Merriam-Webster, is something transmitted by or received from an ancestor or predecessor from the past. See, when we die, we lose any control over what people say about us or how they relate to us. As a matter of fact, we don't have much control over it when we're alive. All you can control, all I can control, is to live a life that is purposeful. And Jim would tell you that the best lives are governed by ideals, those values, those principles, those philosophies that we've been talking about. So go ahead and write down this very important quote. It's one of Jim's finest, I think. Here goes. Each person's personal philosophy is the greatest determining factor in how their life works out. Did you get that? Your personal philosophy is the greatest determining factor in how your life works out. If your philosophy is to sit back and wait for your situation to change, wait for some higher tide, as Jim used to put it, then that's what you're going to be doing, waiting. But we'll talk about some positive philosophies today, and this is one that really does seem central to so much of what we talk about in the magazine. It's the philosophy of self-reliance. Self-reliance and self-belief. If you've got the philosophy that you have all the tools to create the life you want, to create the legacy you want, or you have the work ethic to pursue the knowledge and the skills that you need, study them, put them into practice for yourself, then that philosophy is definitely going to translate to big positive gains in your life. It's all about your philosophy, as Jim taught us so well. So what is the important thing to understand here as we prepare to go forward? It is that you have the power to create that purposeful life that is leading somewhere, to big goals, to greater wealth, to health, to happiness, to that tight-knit family that you want. And since we've been talking about personal development and goal setting over the last couple of days, if you happen to miss those installments of the live training, then maybe you're just realizing how simple it is to achieve those things, how simple it is really to achieve anything you want, just about. But the point is, no one is going to do those things for you. And you have to actively pursue them, because if you're a ship without a rudder, going nowhere in particular, then what could your legacy possibly be? You know, here lies John Smith, 1971 to 2047. He saw a lot of movies. Rest in peace, Susan Jones. She slept in on Saturdays. Well, Susan's got an eternity to rest, right? What if instead she applied herself on those Saturday mornings to become something, got somewhere, grew into something greater, whatever it was that she wanted? What do we want our legacy to be? Imagine just how much control we have over our lives. We have all of the control. Here to explain more is Jim Rohn.
Here's a guy in the last 10 years who's bought 2,000 donuts and 2 books. And this guy says, you know, my life isn't working well. Well, anybody in this audience could give him a seminar, right? Once we knew these numbers, here's what we might suggest to this guy. Hey, this may be one of your major problems. In the last 10 years, you've spent too much money on donuts and not enough money on books. You've spent too much money feeding the body and not enough money gathering food for the mind. And it's not the miracle of your body that works out your future. It's the miracle of your mind. But if you nourish the body and neglect to nourish the mind, I'm telling you, you're going to have all kinds of problems and all kinds of difficulties. So we would suggest, one of our suggestions in our seminar to this man would be, in the next 10 years, spend a lot less money on donuts and a lot more money on books. Food for thought. Bread for the head, we call it. I mean, you got to have ideas that feed your mind, not just your body. And the miracle of the mind is so fabulous to work out your future, to give you all the equities you could possibly hope for. give you every dream and every treasure you could possibly want for you and your family and the people you care most about. It's all available. But it is a very basic, simple process. Once you've found the few things, spend most of your time and money working on those few things. Okay, we call these basics. Basics. Fundamentals, another good word. If you're going to play football, you got to learn the fundamentals. And there's about how many? There's about a half a dozen, right? That'll make you good at it if you practice those half a dozen. A few other things, yes, but the half a dozen are what's important to lay the groundwork. Basics, fundamentals. Now let's talk about the fundamentals of life. Let me give you this little series to jot down. Number one, fundamentals of life. Number one, there's just a few. There's just a few fundamentals of life.
About a half a dozen?
About a half a dozen. Fundamentals of life, there's just a few. Here's number two. Once you know them, you know them. I mean, there's nothing difficult here. It's pretty easy to figure out why people are broke, and it's pretty easy to figure out how people get rich. It's no big deal. Fundamentals of life. Number one, there's just a few. Number two, once you know them, you know them. Now here's number three. There's no new ones. Written history's what? About 6,000 years. There's nothing new here. Now, there might be a new way to say it. There might be a new way to apply it to the 20th century, getting ready for century 21. But this stuff is basic, it's old, it's fundamental. So be aware of somebody who comes along and says, we got new truth. Say, no, you can't have new truth. Truth is old. So be a little suspicious. If a guy says, we're manufacturing antiques, you got to come watch our plant. Wouldn't you be a little suspicious? You say, no, you can't manufacture antiques. Antiques are what? Old. So antiques are like truth. Truth is old. Now, just because you've discovered it is no sign it's new. Say, no, truth is old. The fundamentals go way back. The fundamentals of sowing and reaping go way back. The fundamentals, good, evil, go way back. I mean, there's nothing new here. All we need to do, though, is to just bring our intellectual discovery process to bear and see if we can't find those few things. Then the rest of it is to get busy practicing those few things. We might all agree on number one, philosophy. This is where the value of human life begins to show versus all other life forms. I call it simply a guidance system, settling on certain questions and making decisions about what direction in life you're going to take, setting goals, making plans. This guidance system, I've boiled it down to each one's personal philosophy, a guidance system. And we all need a guidance system for two reasons. For your notes, number one, to avoid the dangers. Somebody's got to give us some clues first on how to avoid the dangers. And number two, to take advantage of the opportunities. To see and understand the opportunities, take advantage, and to avoid the dangers. It's about as simple as I can put it. A guidance system necessary to do that while we journey.
Hey, welcome back. Josh Ellis again. All right. Philosophy. I mean, that determines who you are, doesn't it? Who you are determines what you're going to become. Now, Jim Rohn was a master of metaphors. He used to talk about philosophy as if it were like a sail on a sailboat, the sailboat being your life. And I think the idea of the sail is the perfect one to describe the role that philosophy and attitude play in our lives. Jim would say, the same wind that blows others to disaster takes us to prosperity. Do you have that? It's another good one to write down. The same wind that blows others to disaster takes us to prosperity. See, you heard Jim mention the dangers and the opportunities, right? That is what philosophy is all about, recognizing and assessing those things. That's how people overcome challenges, or better yet, use their challenges as motivation, ammunition to help them get to where they want to be. You have a setback in your business. Does it crush you against the rocks? Or does it teach you to turn that sail a little bit? You know, the sail being maybe your strategy. Turn it in a new direction, pivot it a little bit, cruise forward toward your goal with the help of this new positive wind. The mindset is so key because it goes a little farther to help you eliminate excuses and recognize that you alone are the determining factor in your ultimate success or failure. And the metaphor of the sail really is deeper too, because, you know, if you're a sailor out on the lake or the ocean, the wind does not blow the same way all the time. It turns, it twists, it speeds up, it slows down. It's constantly changing, really, just like life. Like the circumstances that come along in our lives, same deal. And your ability to set your sail and reset your sail comes down to your willingness to learn. That's why Jim says to be a collector of good ideas, so that you can adapt smoothly to those changing winds, the new hurdles, new problems, new circumstances, and adapt. You know, you get hit with a new problem, just study up on how to handle it. You're not the first one, I'll bet. There is nothing that you cannot do, no problem you cannot overcome if you have a learner's mindset. Learner's mindset, so important. So set sail, be willing to reset your sail by applying your new knowledge, your new understanding. By the way, since we've been talking about goal setting, planning, creating your roadmap to whole life success, you know, to creating a legacy, let me quickly tell you about an awesome new tool that you can use to help set your sail, keep you moving in the right direction. I think that I've teased it a couple of times over the last 2 days if you've been sticking with me. Told you to make sure that you're checking your emails to learn more about it in the coming week. But let me right now just give you the skinny a little bit as a thank you for sticking with me these 3 days. What I'm talking about is the Jim Rohn 1-year success plan. This is a fantastic course that we have created at Success, taking the best, most impactful material of Jim and turning it into something that you can apply today that will create incredible growth in your life. Right now, we are almost 6 full months into 2019. And maybe your goals for the year have gotten sideways on you. Well, with this course, the things that you'll learn about yourself, about the actionable steps that you can take through this course, you're going to have the tools that you need to not only salvage this year, pull it out of the ditch, but to get next year off to a great start as well. So the 6-month mark is a great time to pivot. Anyway, be on the lookout for that email series from us. There is a chance that Jim's process could really change your life. I believe in it. I cannot endorse it enough. So before I send it back to Jim one more time, I want to let you know that at the end of the presentation today, I'm going to, once again, see what you guys in the audience have had to say. We might read some comments, do a little Q&A. I know Garrett, my man here, he's maybe been playing with the idea of doing some polls, so we'll just see what comes in there at the end. Gonna have, before we close this thing down for the week, a little interactive session. Is that cool? It's always my favorite part of these things. But you know, you can't have dessert before you have the main course, the meat and potatoes. And here with something that's good for you as we continue our discussion of building a life that matters, building a legacy. One last time for today is Jim Rohn.
Listen to ideas, whether they come from me or from someone else. Be a collector of good ideas. Get more serious about altering the course of your life. And you can, regardless of what happens the next 5 years, getting ready for the turn of the century. you can wind up where you want to be. The money, the joy, the pleasure, the satisfaction. Set of sail. Now, what is philosophy if it's so important? I teach kids how to be rich by 40, 35 if you're extra bright, much sooner if you find a unique opportunity. Kids say, hey, that sounds good to me. How do I do it? And I say, it starts with your philosophy. So kids ask me, what is philosophy? It's kind of a big word, so I've broken it down for them, made it easier for me to understand. Here's my definition of philosophy. Philosophy comes from, number one, the collection of all that you know. Gathering knowledge is the first key to developing the philosophical set of sail. And then number two, deciding which of this information is valuable enough to bet your money and your time. That's about as simple as I can put it. To change the set of sail, regardless of the wind that blows, first you search for knowledge. Then you got to sort through it and decide which of it is valuable enough to spend money and time. That is one of the best equations I know of. You might know 1,000 things, but you can't do 1,000 things. You've got to sort through a lot of information and boil it down to the things that really matter to you and utilize that as the most important pieces, deciding what's valuable. So first of all, we got to gather knowledge. When I have a chance to talk to my high school friends, first thing I tell them is, you got to have the information. Get it while you're here. Don't leave school without it. It's one of my little phrases for my high school friends. What they teach here, what you think of it, that's up to you. What you're going to do with it, that'll soon be up to you. But right now, this is the important thing, is to get it. You can sort through it. You can cast aside whatever's not going to work for you in the future. But the important thing is to be serious enough to get it. Okay? I teach them there's nothing worse than being stupid. Right? Being broke is bad, but being stupid's what's bad. And what's really bad is being broke and stupid. Nothing much worse than that unless you're sick. Right? Sick, broke, and stupid. That's about it. Unless you're ugly. But surely that would do it. Ugly, sick, broke, and stupid. Life's most negative scenario. So number one, you've got to know. You've got to have the information. Now, where do we get ideas and information? We've got this marvelous ability here, like no other life form on earth has, to alter the course of our life. You don't have to keep flying south. If south is not getting you the money and the joy and the pleasure, I'm telling you, you can alter the course. You're not like just a blind animal that has to be driven by instinct and the genetic code. So, if we want to change our life, we've just got to use this marvelous mechanism to gather more ideas and information and see if it'll pay off for us. So where do we get this? Jot this down. Number one, from PE, I call it personal experience. Just make it a point from now on to learn more from your own personal experience. That's probably the best university in the world. Your own personal experience. You've been through enough that could teach you. Personal experience. Log the questions from your personal experience. Log the answers from your personal experience. Right? Learning is the beginning of wealth. Learning is the beginning of health. And here's where it can all start. Paying more attention to your own personal experience. One way to learn to do it right is what? Do it wrong. That's one way to learn. Now the key is, don't let it take too long. If you've done it wrong for 10 years, we suggest that's long enough. We don't suggest 10 more years just to prove a point. No. You can prove any point in 10 years. In 10 years, your health disciplines will be on track or what? Off track. Your financial independence will be on track or off track. It doesn't take that long to come to the conclusion based on your own personal experience, whether you're on track or off track. In a few years, you've either got the breath or you haven't got the breath. You got the money or you haven't got the money. You've got the self-esteem or you haven't got the self-esteem. I mean, it doesn't take much from your personal experience. Schoaf was swift to point out my personal experience. He said, let's learn from that. He said, Mr. Owen, you've been working 6 years. I said, yes, sir. He said, how are you doing? I said, not very well. He said, I suggest you not do that anymore. What a swift analysis of my current situation. He said, couldn't we find out what happened the last 6 years so that you can alter the course the next 6 years? That had never occurred to me. He said, I'm telling you, we can learn so much from the last 6 that we can make the next 6 years totally different than the last 6. And that's exactly what he did for me. That second 6 years, my life so swiftly changed. It was absolutely incredible. At age 25, I was broke. At age 31, I was rich. And he said, Mr. Rohn, if you'll make these changes starting today, he said, the next 6 years of your life will be totally different than the last 6. I took him up on that. So now let me give you that promise. In case you have to leave early, here's the promise that changed my life for your notes. He said, if you will change, everything will change for you. If you will change, everything will change for you.
All right, here we are again. Josh Ellis back with you to close things out. This week has been so fun. I'm glad that you could be with me all the way up to our last clip of Jim. In that last clip, Jim talks about our ability to change, and he mentions flying south. Earlier in that very same presentation from way back in the 1990s, he had been making the comparison to migrating birds, how they don't have a choice what they do in the winter. But you have a choice what you'll do in any season of your life. Jim wrote that every life form except human beings operates by instinct in the genetic code. It has no multiple choice like we do. Only humans have multiple options. In the winter, a goose flies south. Because he's a goose, he couldn't fly west. If you said to the goose, it'd be better to go west this year, he would ignore that advice. He'd keep on flying south. Because the goose has no alternative. He has no other way. He is only driven, as all life forms are driven, by instinct in their genetic code, except human beings. Humans can go north, south, east, west. Humans can change and do anything they want to do. But here's what's interesting about all life forms except humans. Every life form except humans strives to the max of its potential. How tall will a tree grow? It will grow as tall as it possibly can. You've never heard of a tree growing half as high as it could. No? Because that's impossible. A tree grows as high as it can, drives down every root that it can, produces every leaf that it can, extends itself as far, as wide as it possibly can. Every life form to the max, extending itself, except humans. Now, why not humans? Because we're not robots. We all have choices to make. Good choices and bad choices. You can be part of or all of what you have the potential to be. You can do a little, do some more, take advice, don't take orders, design your own life. If you say, hey, I'm going to cash out my 401k and I'm heading for the mountains, I'm going to, live in a little cabin, tiny home, live off the land, feed the squirrels. If you go and do that, then guess what? You are a smashing success because you're living the life that you designed. You pulled it off. No one can say to you, no, that's not successful. If it doesn't work for you, doesn't satisfy you, then make alternatives and change. If you get some better ideas, go ahead. Jim said that we all must suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. So consider the discipline, because discipline weighs ounces and regret weighs tons. With a few simple disciplines practiced every day, with a goal and a plan and some execution, some focus, you can design the life that you want, a life that matters to you and other people. And in doing that, you will create a legacy. That's all any of us want. The opportunity is right in front of you. So be ready to grasp it. Okay, I told you we were right here close to the end. That's the end for me. I do want to take some of the questions that you guys have sent in, interact a little bit. It's been so fun. It's been an incredible week. I love to geek out in the Success Archives, look for old clips from these titans in the history of personal development, the Hall of Famers, because they all have something unique and valuable to share. And Jim Rohn, I have to say, is probably foremost among all of them. He just gets it. And the more time I spend with what Jim had to say, what he wrote, the more that I believe that I get it too. And the more I can help you, I think, and carry on his legacy. So it's a really fun job. It's also a fun job because I get to talk to you guys in this setting. We've been hearing from you all week and all day during today's live training. So let me then get to some of the messages that you sent in. I've been compiling these all week now. So let's start with this one from Shandy. Shandy asks, what the best, most impactful habit is to instill whole life success? Not a small question, Shandy, but let me give you something that I know has worked for a lot of people. Jim Rohn lived by it. It is simply to wake up earlier. Wake up early in the morning. I mean, I've been told that before by a lot of people, and I can say that when I needed to get something done, to achieve something, it's the thing that works best for me as well. So consider what you could do if you woke up and got your day started sooner. You know, let's say that it doesn't have to be crazy early. Let's say that you woke up at 6 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. Now, you know, you're saying, I can see you saying, look, I need those 8 hours of sleep. Yeah, you do. But if you're getting those 8 hours between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., you know, then you're waking up with 2 hours of you time before you need to get ready and go to work or really start your day. I don't know what you do between 10 and midnight, but I bet it's not ultra productive the way you can be between 6 and 8 a.m. I bet you're not exercising that late at night. You're probably not journaling. You're tired. You're not planning the next day or working on a business plan or anything like that because you're tired. Of course you're tired. It's late. If you do that stuff first thing in the morning before it's even time to get ready for your day, you're energized. That's the right time to do it. You have this time right then to work on yourself in ways that are just more difficult if you let the day get away from you. So, Shandy, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for your question. Use that time wisely, all right? The next question, a little Q&A, it will go to Dean. Dean is asking, how can I add a deeper meaning to my life? Well, that's a very good question, Dean. A great one, because I really don't think that you are alone in searching for that deeper meaning. I mean, you can find meaning in any number of places. It could be being a good parent, a good partner. You can find meaning in exercise, taking care of your body, you know, putting yourself in position to live well into old age. And that actually brings me to another point that I want to make about legacy. Sometimes a grand legacy is just about living longer, meeting so that you can meet more people, affect more lives. The longer you live, the more people you touch, you know? One of the earliest stories that I wrote when I got to Success Magazine was about a guy named Dan Buettner who did something really incredible. He was working for National Geographic, and he wrote a book where he had traveled the world and studied the pockets, the few centralized locations that had the highest concentration in them in the world of people who lived to be age 100 or older. centenarians, right? They're called. And he called these regions the blue zones. There are a few of them, little pockets, a few places in the world that really do have, compared to the rest of the world, a lot of people who live for a really long time. I mean, Okinawa has them in Japan, Costa Rica. There's this island off the coast of Greece that has them. And so Dan Buettner analyzed the lifestyles of these cultures, these people who lived well into such a ripe old age with pretty good health along the way, I might say. And, there were some dietary habits that they seemed to have in common, and there were some things about staying sort of physically active that they shared. But do you know what was an even greater predictor of living to be so old? It's amazing. He found that in these cultures, elderly people still have great value in society. They find meaning to keep living by being useful to the people around them. They are depended upon. And these cultures don't have any sort of consideration of retirement, like we typically do here in the US, where you work for 40 years and you get a gold watch, retire, go play golf for a few years until you get sick and die. In these blue zones, the older people, even people past age 100, are expected to contribute. It's not that they work the same job that they did when they were younger, or even that they have a traditional job, but they may volunteer, they may belong to a church or some other organization that they, give their time to. They feel a sense of purpose, which, so far as the research shows, is what keeps them going. Their lives have meaning mentally, spiritually, and that has a very real physical effect on them. And those people most certainly leave a legacy in their communities. Again, just by virtue of the fact of living longer, you're going to meet and affect and impact more people, help more people. That's a legacy. Okay, last question of the week. We're getting ready to wrap things up, okay? This one is from Destiny. I wonder actually if it came in yesterday, because she's asking about goals, the path to goal attainment we were talking about yesterday. She says she gets it that the first step is to write one down, but then things get fuzzy for her and the path to keep going becomes unclear. Okay, I get that. It's a great question. I'm glad you asked, Destiny. The answer to how to keep going, how to keep the train on the tracks, is constant reassessment, recalibration, checking the sail, right? There may be 15 steps to reach your goal, but they're all moving targets based on the changing conditions, the winds, the swirling winds, the new circumstances that you encounter, the new things that you learn along the way. Every step that you take is a new first step. So have that mindset and you'll go a long way. Where you may end up might not be exactly what you had originally pictured. That's just because no one can exactly predict the future. No one. But you'll go a long way. And it's about trajectory, right? If you put yourself on an upward trajectory and you do something that matters, then you will achieve something huge because you're growing along the way. Okay, I feel like I've done something that mattered this week. I got to introduce you guys to some of the best lessons from the great Jim Rohn. We're always working on keeping his legacy alive because it's very much worth it. The things that he taught really can do so much for each and every one of us. So I hope that you learned something this week. I hope, like I said, that you will check your email to learn about that big opportunity coming next week. Be on the lookout for it. There is so much to gain, so much ahead for you, but you've got to put in the work. You can do it. So be on the lookout, check that out, look for those emails, and that's it. I'm out of here. Have a great weekend and be great, everybody. Thanks for joining me this week.